Guys, we're going to introduce the concept of least common denominator, least common multiple here. How do we find them in this video here? So let's please pay attention to that and see how it, because that's just one area which is very important as you're going to add and subtract fractions. You need to find these numbers before you can go ahead. So let's see how we can deal with some of them over here. So, I mean, these are just very small numbers. Let's get the concept first, and then we can, move forward with it. So we got 4 and 3. So between 4 and 3, what will be the lowest common denominator? And what does that mean again? The lowest common denominator, the least common denominator, or the least common multiple is the number such that if you take that number, you can divide that number by 4, and you can divide that same number by 3. And we're looking for the smallest one, okay? So a lot of time people get confused when we say smallest one. People are looking at small number between 4 and 3. No. So it's a smaller number so that when you take that number divided by 4, you take that number divided by 3, it's going to come out evenly, okay? So the one thing that we do a lot of times is to be able to find what we call the prime numbers or the factors, okay? So if you take 4, for example, factors of 4 is 2 and then 2. That's how you can break it down. It just means how can you break down 4? So that means 2 by 2 is 4, okay? And then how can you break down 3? It's just 3 times 1, or it's just a 3, okay? And these 2 and 3 are what we call prime numbers. So if you guys remember prime numbers, right? Okay, so those prime numbers are numbers that can multiply, that can divide by themselves, and then 1 only, okay? So if you take that number divided by itself and then divided by 1 only, so it's like if you take 1, you take 2, you take 3, you take 5, you take 7, so you take 11, you take 13, you take 17, you take 19. For example, those numbers are what we call prime numbers or prime factors, okay? So in this case, one thing that you want to do is 4 and 3, do they have anything in common as factors? No. Because 4 can be broken down as 2 times 2. So 2 and 3 have nothing in common. So automatically, if you take 4 and 3, and then you're trying to find the lowest common denominator, you can automatically multiply 4 by 3, sorry. That will give you 12, okay? So the LCD, in this case, will be 4 times 3, which is going to give you 12. And why is it equal to 12? Because 12 can divide 4 3 times, and the same 12 can divide 3 also evenly, like 4 times, correct? So 12 can divide 4 evenly, which gives you 3, and 12 can divide 3, which is 4, okay? So the LCD is 12. That's what it means. Now let's take the second question here. 8 and 2. Okay, so let me split this. 8 and 2. So 8 and 2, do they have something in common? Yes. Okay, because 8 can be broken down as what? 2 times 2 times 2, right? So 8 can be broken down as 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so they have something in common, which is 2. Now, the lowest common denominator or least common denominator is, again, the smallest, such that if you take it, you divide by 8, it's going to come out evenly. You divide by 2, it's going to come out evenly. So when you look at 8 and 2 here, for example, and they have something in common, which is 2, so 8 will be the lowest common denominator. All right? Because 8 can divide itself 1 time, and then 8 can divide 2 4 times. Okay? So LCD is going to be equal to 8. All right? So 8 is the LCD here. Now let's go with 6 and 4. Now for 6 and 4, do they have something in common here? They have 2 in common. Okay? But again, you're looking for the smallest number such that that number can divide 6 evenly. That same number can divide 4 evenly. So that means that number cannot be smaller than 6. Never. Okay? So now, How can we break down also to find the prime factors, the prime numbers of these ones here? So we can just go, 6 can be what? 3 times 2, right? And then 4 can be 2 by 2. So now we just going in different directions here. 3 by 2, 2 by 2. And then what can happen here? How can we find that number here? So what are the prime factors, the different prime factors that we have here? We have 2, which is a prime factor. And then we also have 3, which is another prime factor, correct? 2 and 3 are 2 different prime factors. How many times do we have 2 here? Once. How many times do we have 2 here? Twice. So we're going to take 2 twice. Okay? And then how many times do we have 3 here? Once. But we do not have 3 here. So that means we're going to take 3 only once. And right after you collect those numbers, you can multiply them up to give you the LCD. So that'll give you 2 by 2, 4, 4 by 3 is 12. So that'll be your LCD, because again, 12 can divide 6 twice, and 12 can divide 4 3 times. All right? And then you are able to say that 12 is the lowest common denominator. All right? So last but not least, we have 2 here, 3 here, and 4 here. Okay? So do we have anything in common for any of those 2 numbers? 2 and 4 are in common. The lowest common denominator for 2 and 4, for example, is 4, because that's the number such that 4 can divide 4 once and 4 can divide 2 twice. Okay? So then that means you can only now compare 3 and 4. You don't need to use the 2 anymore. So you can compare the 3 and the 4. And then what's the number that can be the lowest common denominator here? That means what is the number that can divide 3 and 4 evenly? That'd be 12 in this case, because 3 and 4 have nothing in common. So anytime they don't have anything in common, you can just multiply them up. So 3 by 4 is going to give you 12. So 12 will be our lowest common denominator in this case. Okay, why? Again, is because 12 can divide 2 6 times. 12 can divide 3 4 times. And 12 can divide 4, 3 times. So that's why 12 is your lowest common denominator. All right? So more and more of these problems will help you to understand what we call the least common denominator or the least common multiple. That's just the same thing. So this is the breakdown of it. So watch the video again, pay attention to it, take your time to understand, how we can, get this. So I'm going to get another video, of course, on the lowest common denominator again, so that we get used to it. Okay?